Hey guys, what's going on? Scows here with Shadow. Once again, Off the Top is bringing you a new podcast. Today we're going to focus on all of the wrestling uncertainties that have happened since Friday. Just give a quick rundown of things that have happened, what we expect, our speculation on how things are going to go. Shadow, what's going on?
Not much, man. Just it's been a crazy week in wrestling.
We're only
Everything's all over the place.
It's July 24th, and we've already had so much stuff happen this year. It is crazy. Yeah, I know we're a little bit late, Pest. I had some technical difficulties. It's probably on my end trying to get Shadow's camera working, but could have been
Who's
him. I don't
complaining?
know. Pestilence is complaining. He's in the chat saying we're late.
Yeah, it's Scal's fault always.
Usually never, but today,
He's got to comb his hair.
yeah, what hair?
Like, all that. He's got
Okay, okay, Brock.
like,
Okay, Brock.
hey, don't hate the hair, man. Who's jealous you don't have this hair?
All right. So, first things first. Let's touch base on Vince retiring. Are you there, Shadow?
I am here, but apparently it's too slow.
Oh, craziness happening.
Yeah, I think I have some internet issues happening right now.
I hear you clear now. That was good. Um, but yeah, this whole yeah, I know what you're looking at. That's how it's looking on your camera, but that's not how it's looking on the stream. So
I know. No. That's what I'm watching. I'm watching to make sure it's. Sorry, guys. I have a storm. We're in severe thunderstorm watch right now. It's been raining all afternoon. So
so okay, let's touch base with Vince. This was completely out of left field. No one expected it. They just had a meeting at Money in the Bank saying that he was not going anywhere, and then all of a sudden, we get an announcement from Vince himself on Twitter that it's time for him to retire.
I think what happened to that was the company tried to force him out. He said, "Nah, I'm not leaving," being the stubborn old prick he is, and he actually sat down and thought about it a little bit and decided that he was going to leave.
I think it's more on the fact that other stuff is going to be coming out, and he wanted to leave before that stuff can hurt WWE more than it already has.
I mean, either way, it's going to hurt WWE because it happened during his WWE tenure.
Yeah, but if he didn't do anything with WWE's funds or anything, then it should not hurt them. It's just the fact that he doesn't want to keep bringing attention to WWE for this when he doesn't need to. Like you said, he's 77 years
Listen,
old.
listen. I don't believe in adultery and all that, right? But if him and Linda have been separated for as long as we all think, and he's having these affairs, and yeah, he made paid hush money, and as long as he, like you said, as long as he's using his own personal funds, not the company's, we don't have any place to criticize him.
Yeah, look, if some of the stuff that could come out or has come out is true, and he has done some bad things, then yes, does he deserve to be punished? Absolutely. But if all he's doing is having an affair and then paying somebody to keep quiet about it, I mean, if he's using those money, like you said, WWE can't be liable for that.
No, and I don't think it's fair to cast judgment upon a man for, he wants to keep it quiet. That's on him.
And that just led into so many things on Friday night. Like, because now there was unrest in the back areas. They didn't know what was going on with the show because after this news came out, Brock left the arena, like left. No
Yeah,
one.
I'm still really confused on
He
that whole
left.
thing.
He left. No one knew if he was going to come back or not.
I understand him and Vince are close. I get it. He was probably taking him back because he didn't know.
Yeah,
Right? But
I mean, once he left, they had to rewrite the entire script because the show was based a lot of around him, and I mean, it was a decent show, but it it could have been better. Obviously, it probably would have been if that was the case. Um, Top, I'd have to set up a channel for you to join in because we're not using the channel in the server. If you wanted to jump in, so if you want to do that, let me know and I could fix it. Um, but yeah, and then throughout the night we were reading reports from not Meltzer, Alvarez, Sean Ross Sapp saying that they don't know if he's coming back, if they're trying to reach out to him, trying to resolve everything. And at the end of the show, Theory's out there, and all of a sudden his music hits. So at least they got him back because there was the rumors that we would have somebody replace him in the main event at SummerSlam.
I think it would be too short notice to bring in who everybody speculated, but
Yeah, I mean, especially with
what happened?
oh, what just happened? Hold on. There you go.
Did we just crash?
No, was trying to invite him into the chat and it disconnected and connected to my phone.
Okay.
So let me see if there's a way I can do it in here. I don't know if there is a way I can do it in here.
I don't know if you guys can hear us, but sorry for the technical difficulties.
Just trying to figure out if there's a way that I can. Here we go. And of course I can't. He's not a friend of mine.
All right, so we'll just have to go to the server.
Yeah, you can keep talking.
Do a quick over to the server here.
Yeah, let's click over to the server.
All right.
Sorry, guys. I'm still here. Shadow will be there in a minute. Yeah, the whole thing with Brock and everything, it was kind of like a last minute thing. The speculated person that everybody was talking about Pest was going to be Goldberg, but the rumors that were going on with that was that it was not enough time for Goldberg to end up getting ready and being the sufficient time to be ready for the show.
Right. And I don't think Goldberg would be ideal. I don't want to see him on my TV anymore. I don't care. My camera's taking a second to load. It is loading.
Yeah, I know, but I know why we didn't do this last time. It was because of the.
But I don't think Goldberg would have been worth bringing in.
No,
I would have had. If Brock left, what I would have done is I would have had Reigns go out to the ring and be like, I declared forfeit because Brock's too big of a pussy to show up and fight me because I am the greatest champion. Boom. Theory's music hits. Cash in. Doesn't win, but sets it up for Theory to look good.
Yeah. I mean, Theory's not going to win anay if he cashes in.
Shouldn't.
Like I've said in the past, the only reason that he won this is because he'd be the person that can actually lose the cash in and have it not hurt him.
Yeah, he's young enough where it won't look bad.
It's already fixed, Top. So if you want to join, you're more than welcome to. I already fixed everything, so you're as better join now.
Whoever wants to join, just join into the general, and we'll pull you into the channel you don't see.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Goldberg. I don't think it's gonna be. It wouldn't matter anyway because I don't think it's not happening now because Brock did show up, but
right.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to have him do it within such a short amount of time.
No, and I don't think anybody would want to see that either.
No one wants to see Goldberg again.
The only way.
Thank you for the sub, Prime. I appreciate it.
The only way you could have Theory beat or Goldberg win is if you have Theory immediately cash in.
Yeah, and then that wouldn't make sense, but not happening either way.
Who is supposed to be joining us for conversation?
Um, Just saying was said he was going to join, but he hasn't joined yet. So
Oh well, he can see the server anyways.
yeah, he could see it. So overall, I think with the Vince uncertainty going on and what's going to happen going forward is we are going to see changes through everything. We already have had some major changes. One being Triple H is back to being the EVP of Talent Relations, and
Which is huge.
and then you have Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan as co-CEOs of WWE. So,
Well, Triple H being back in control of talent relations is huge. I don't feel like we're going to get a lot of superstar disconnect at this point. And I feel like the main roster is going to start to look a little bit like NXT Black and Gold was, where there is actual story, talent getting pushed that probably you wouldn't realize would get pushed and stuff like that.
I think we're going to see people come back that have left. I think the first person that we're going to see come back, people, I should say, is going to be Killer Cross and Scarlett. That's who I think is going to come back.
Maybe. I could see some talent that AEW started to release come on back over.
Like who?
Just like what's his name from the Dark Order there that went to TNA. He doesn't have he's not signed there. He's just competing.
Buddy?
I don't know I can't remember his name exactly, but
Oh,
it's one of the Dark. John, I think it's John. So
no, Alan Angels.
Yeah, he could come to WWE. He would thrive in their environment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think because Cross didn't really want to leave, and
Right.
he was very upset when they left. And he has openly said that he does want to come back, that he would come back to WWE. And you know, Triple H is gonna show him the right way, like he was down in NXT.
Right, like I said, with Triple H at the helm again,
Yeah.
in a sense.
He would be tiny for WWE, but you have to get out of the Vince mentality of how all the WWE wrestlers should be. Look at Cole. Look how Cole was in NXT. Look what Triple H did with him. So there's lots of different aspects as to what can change how WWE is perceived and what they do going forward.
Exactly.
So I mean, Stephanie and Nick Khan at the helm. I don't know how that's gonna play out. It should be an easy transition because Nick Khan was already probably doing most of the stuff anyway. Even though Vince was the one giving the yes or no on things. But overall, I think it was. I really like. But,
I don't think it'll be a bad transition.
No, I don't think so either. I think it'll be a smooth transition. I don't think they will be. I don't think there'll be a lot of changes creatively right away either. I think they want to show the stability with Vince leaving, especially with TV contracts coming up next year or in 2024. So
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be like I've read a bunch of places, and I agree. It's not gonna be an immediate change.
I could see something happening after SummerSlam. where they change small things, and that might make a big difference. But it'll be something that we really don't see right away. Like they might change words that they use, or they might get rid of the camera cuts. Like things like that, that would just make the presentation better and people would complain less. And that, like, if, because the rumor is Kevin Dunn is on his way out as well. So, and he could be gone by the end of the year at the latest.
Interesting side note, I read it today. Cody was on the panel at the San Diego Comic-Con, and he said WWE could keep fining him for saying belt.
Yep.
That's a Vince McMahon term that's been banned.
There's a lot of Vince McMahon terms that have been banned. And that's why I was saying that they could open up and get a couple of, and you can start seeing things. Like, instead of calling, like they might say the word strap, or we can actually hear wrestlers, the word wrestler. Like, there's a lot of different things.
True that. You can also see blood back, which would be huge.
Well, especially with TV 14, and like that was the first sign that something was happening. When that came out, that they were going TV 14, you knew there was a change coming. And then they had a backtrack and they knew there was a backtrack because it's not happening yet. Okay, so when is it happening? Now it's going to happen. Right. I would not be surprised if tomorrow night WWE Raw at Madison Square Garden is TV 14.
I think I know somebody going to that show.
Yeah, this guy.
There you go.
I'm so hyped.
I'll follow you up a few weeks later.
I was debating whether to go the entire week, and I was going to wait until tonight to buy tickets, just so I could see what I can get for cheaper prices and everything. But then once the news dropped on Friday with Vince, I was like, no matter what, I have to go. So I just bought the tickets, and I decided to go. I mean, you have Rey Mysterio's 20th anniversary. You have the potential for Edge to show up. Oh, hold on. We got us somebody else coming in.
What do we got over here? Copperhater.
Hold on. Hold on,
welcome in. This is a cross-platform, a cross-promotion.
Let me see if I can get you on.
I don't like being the main focus on this screen.
You're not gonna be.
I can turn off my camera. That's simple too.
No. Oh, it changes for both. There we go. Too much going on.
Yeah, just put staying up.
No, I'll just move you up. I'll give it to this one.
Have it on the screen. It's fine. I'm good like this.
There we go. Nope, I'm gonna move it over. Here you go. You're on screen.
Well, this episode will not be put on
everyone.
Spotify or anything.
Well, everyone, this is Just Saying. He is the person who runs Top Rope Tokes, one of our partners. We both work together jointly. They are mainly for AEW. They do live broadcast after Dynamite and Rampage, and then after the pay-per-views, as well as other short videos that he likes to put out. So everybody say welcome to him. Nice. I think somebody else in our server is going to All Out as well. I think
it would just be nice. It would just be nice if it came to Canada, but fuck us.
They are working on that. Yeah. They're talking. They're talking about up there.
I truly thought after Detroit we'd be the next one, but no, it has to go back to New York.
I mean, to be fair, look at how long we even had
Yeah, no, I get it. It also comes to see if the arenas can make the deal with AEW as well, because WWE has, quote unquote, like everything.
That was
AEW
what
hasn't
was that?
been
Wasn't that
MSG, right?
the Supercard show? Yeah. No, AEW cannot run at MSG because of WWE.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever see that.
Well, now with Vince gone, you might, because
Well-
that was a Vince thing, and that was part of the reason why I'm going tomorrow night, because I have a feeling he's going to come out.
Do we finally see the
because that's where it was.
Do we finally see the actual Forbidden Door open?
Give it about 2 years. That's mine.
It's not going to be super quick. It's going to be something that they...
But they're going to progress towards it now. It's not going to be a what if anymore. It's going to be a when if.
But does AEW work with WWE, or does WWE just try to do Roadshow with
No, it's going to be AEW, WWE. It has to be.
It doesn't have to be. I think it's going to be. I think there's going to be a major show between all four. That's what I think there's going to be built to. Impact, New Japan, AEW. Right. Well, they already started working with Impact a little bit. They've allowed their wrestlers to go talk about and be on TV over there. They brought Mickey James in, so I could see that continuing. They already tried to work with New Japan, but it's Vince, so they probably didn't want to do it with him. But now that Triple H is there, I could see that bridge being built first before going to AEW.
Yep, that's all I was going to think.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. It's not going to happen overnight, but it is something that I definitely think we will see in the future. Thank you for the follow, Darkcraft.
Listen. Hey, what up, Dark? Hey, man, what up? Listen. The mark in me wants to see Kenny Omega versus Seth Rollins, all right? I need to see this.
Okay. But we need to see this with the real Seth Rollins, not the WWE version of Seth Rollins.
Okay.
I don't know. The way Shadow sent me pictures of all the new figures that were coming out, he made me think that WWE was putting out a CM Punk figure.
To be fair, no, hang on. To be fair, that is on Mr. Fuck. That's on him. That's not on me.
No, I know. It's just the way you sent it to me. It made me look like it was all WWE figures, and then there was CM Punk, like they were putting one out, and I was freaking out.
Here's a line of the new action figures, and CM Punk's in the
Right, and I was very confused because I was like, "There's no way WWE would do that while he's with AEW."
I mean, they are doing it with Jeff, even though it was
Yeah.
probably in production. They are
but
doing it with Jeff.
That's different. It's not somebody that was with WWE 10 years ago.
I mean, he was with WWE 10 years ago.
You know what I mean.
Man, I'm just being a smartass at this point.
What else is new? But well, now that you're on, did you watch ROH last night?
I wish I had, but this was just absolutely terrible.
I know you said you weren't feeling too high. You feeling better?
It took pretty much a full 24 hours, but yeah.
Did you end up catching up on any of it?
No, I was debating on whether or not I just wanted to get onto the show and just kind of learn about it as it is, or like read ahead of time, because it doesn't really make a difference if I didn't see it, you know?
So did you read up on it and know what happened?
Nope. Well, I mean, I know Claudio.
Okay. What's your thoughts on that?
I didn't really have any thoughts on it until certain quotes came out by a certain person whining after the match.
Well, we're bringing up that subject, so go ahead and go into it.
Yeah, we're
Because
gonna
that is
talk.
one
We're
of our
gonna talk.
talking
We're gonna
points.
talk about that. So
It's a touchy subject, so I don't. You gotta be careful how you phrase certain things.
no, we understand.
But basically, he went to the race car
Mm-hmm.
talking about because you can have bland, no character white champions get a chance, but
Right.
not black. Bypassing the fact that they were investing in storylines, and bypassing the fact that it could could have something to do with Claudio has been in numerous WrestleManias and they would let that in the media. And also bypassing the fact that not only do you not have charisma or not really show anything, you're also 5'4".
Right.
It
So,
couldn't be anything else. It had to be one thing.
well, that's because, right. I know what you're saying.
Just
And
so
it
everybody
is a touchy subject, and it is something that you don't want to throw around lightly.
just
And
just so the
then,
viewers and
and
listeners are aware, this is a lot of paraphrasing. This isn't our views or beliefs.
and you knew something was up the minute he deactivated his Twitter as soon as it happened.
And so my thing is now with the reports about Tully also being out, like I could understand if they went to him and said we're taking the title off of you and we're going to now be a trio style with Gates of Agony
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, and like completely take him out of the spot. But up until Saturday, I think Scales, if you want to change the volume on like in Discord.
Oh, that's probably. I don't have. That's right. I don't have it all the way up. There we go. You should be good now.
Yeah, I gotta figure out a couple new things with this new setup. But I want to make sure I don't my keyboard and stuff and my computer thing aren't hurt. But it'd be different if they just were just taking away all their investment in him. I don't know if there was a conversation like that with Tully being possibly leaving.
Mm-hmm.
If it was to de-push him altogether with all of those things happening, okay, I understand that frustration. But if he was still going to have a push behind him, then it kind of seems a little bit silly.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what was going to happen next, but there was also reports of no communication between him and Tony Khan up until the day before, and other people saying the same thing, that they don't always know what's going on until it's already time to happen or it's too late, so to speak.
Yeah, I've read several reports today where AEW talent, along with Ring of Honor talent, have no clue what's going on a day-to-day basis.
See, and I understand that, so that's why I'm like, what possibly are we missing here? Because it's like there's a number of other factors
Oh,
that
100%.
play into those kind of things. So like to jump right to that, was there something else behind there?
Who's not playing telephone? Who's not relaying what they're supposed to?
But also understand that TK is possibly angling to try to get television.
Mm-hmm.
So if that day after that pay-per-view somebody came up with an offer to them, like that was the breaking point, it's kind of hard to tell people certain plans when all of a sudden certain things can change on a dime, and that's what you're hoping for.
Right. Let's say,
But-
for whatever reason, USA came to AEW and was like, we don't want to see Kenny Omega as your champion at any point in the next X amount of time. Khan's going to make that happen because they want that TV deal to bring in revenue. Like, it just comes down to like that. Obviously, you're not going to do that to Omega, but that's an example.
Right. I mean, there's a lot that we don't know. I just don't like that the first statement that came out about it went right to that without any kind of context to why that would be the direction it goes.
I think I read also somewhere today that AEW and Warner Brothers came to an agreement, so that could also play into it.
Oh, they came into an agreement about ROH?
So I think it's ROH or AEW. It's one of the two that reached an agreement for some kind of thing. I'd have to find it again, but I read that Warner Brothers had agreed, as well as AEW. So I'm trying to find it again here.
I wonder if Warner Brothers changed their stance on the Briscoes then. Because they didn't want them showing up on AEW TV. And that's why they couldn't sign to AEW contracts.
Yeah, that's why I also thought that it was kind of realistic that maybe Ring of Honor's best goal was a streaming service,
Mm-hmm.
because then you don't have to worry about the same kind of restrictions, because it's only going to be available for those that seek it out.
Right, you'd be able to do pretty much what you want on there. It could be more like that, like like the indie, like GCW, like all the craziness and everything else.
Not that I ever think that that's the direction that they would go. It's just the fact that it would eliminate some of the hurdles that they might have with having best talent, like Briscoes.
Dude, that match last night. If you're gonna go watch anything, you need to go watch the 2 out of 3 falls match between the Briscoes and FTR. It, you know my feelings. I don't always like all the crazy stuff and craziness that goes on, but I was glued to my TV for that 45 minutes between that entire match. And after the match, I I gave it so much praise. Like, I thought that was one of the best matches I've ever seen.
It's one of the reasons I definitely was looking forward to the show because, like I was saying about the main event for that show, well, I don't know what actually went on last time.
That no, the main event
was it Raw 3?
right, and I think that's the other part of the issue of what you were talking about is Claudio and Christian went on first. They opened the show.
Okay, I also don't get that being a complaint because even Brock Lesnar says if he's not last, he's first because
He wanted to leave.
well, it's not only that, but you also understand the second most important match on the card is the opener.
Right. It's how the show starts.
It also, that match was also 10 minutes long as well.
Yeah, and I think it was like 8 minutes long total. Christian versus Claudio.
I heard that one. So, I mean, there's just a number of things that got kind of funny there with them. Like, the team losing, Tully, the timing. That's why I'm like, I'm wondering if what else was possibly said behind the scenes on that one.
Yeah, there had to be a lot. And I don't know if we'll ever hear exactly everything that it was said.
That's the fun thing about wrestling politics. We don't know everything. Neither do the dirt sheets.
But that match was one of a few things because like that world title match was not something I cared about really going into the show.
Mm-hmm.
The tag match and the women's title match were the two things that I was probably most excited for.
Yeah, I ended up not getting home until about 10 o'clock, so I only got to see the main event. But I was glad that I definitely turned it on.
I legitimately have no idea where my phone is, so I can't even pull up the results if I'm on it right now. I got my computer. So, women's title match. Who won?
Mercedes Martinez. She retained.
I'm not surprised, but I am very disappointed just because I think Serena Deeb has probably been one of the best all-around performers in the whole AEW bubble over the last 6 months. Like, probably only to Britt.
And
kind of Jade. Depends on how you want to factor ring work versus charisma.
I don't know.
Well, Scals is a huge fan of Britt Baker, so.
No. First off.
Huge fan.
First off. I don't mind Britt Baker. I just hated how they were booking her. Second, Serena Deeb should have had a title by now. Because she deserves everything she has done, the way that they built her up, the way that they've done everything, and then for her just to be tossed aside, like she did nothing, doesn't feel right to me.
So Ruby Soho?
She would have took it over Thunder Rosa. Because it was obvious at that point Thunder Rosa as champion was not really over. And Deeb had just...
Right. And
there was so much fire with that one promo that she was hot.
And she should have. And I love Thunder Rosa, but I don't know. When she came out for that match against Britt Baker, and you knew from her walking out that she was losing, that just leaves a bad taste in your mouth of somebody that doesn't care. Like, they don't care what they're showing, the way they're showing things. Because you knew from the way she walked out that she was losing. And then the next time they faced, she had the whole band set up and everything else. You knew she was winning. It just was too predictable.
I said, like, Thunder Rosa has become... I went from kind of liking her, like, before she ever got to the title. But then, once that change was coming, and ever since, I'm like, oh, I actually not that much of a fan. Like, I can respect her.
Thunder Rosa.
I thought as I would.
Thunder Rosa and Hangman They're great in the chase, but they're terrible champions.
I
That's
will
my
say,
opinion.
I think people sleep too much on a certain part. I think the time that he had with Danielson right after was awesome.
Who?
Hangman and
Hey, man.
Hangman. Okay.
That's just my opinion, right? Like, I believe that they're better in the chase than they are having the belts.
it's a good general rule for most faces, so I don't disagree. But I do think that everyone just goes right to just saying bad things about Hangman's reign. And I'm like, hey, I actually really love that quit program with Danielson.
Yeah, that's fair. It was a great program. I want to talk about what your guys' thoughts are on that absolute shit show of a main event on Wednesday. The whole barbed wire match. Like, it just seemed way too out of place for those two.
Okay. Before we start on the match itself, they deserve all the credit in the world for actually putting themselves through all that because that was insane. And I think it just got too much near the end, and that's why we saw all the messy spots and all the missed opportunities and everything. I think they tried to overbook it too much to try and please everybody, and it didn't work, in my opinion.
That's
Which
fair.
I think is a part of the Jericho gimmick because they're sports entertainers. So it has a lot more of the predictable aspects that you always that we grew to expect over the last 20 years before there was another company. So like there were certain tropes that as you saw the match happening, you knew exactly where it was going because Jericho is designing all this stuff to be like the enemy.
Right. And like, if you're on Twitch here, or you're on TikTok like I am, you know a guy named Heel Josh, and I've now joined the Heel Josh Block Club, and he can go fuck himself gladly because he decided to keep calling missed opportunities as botches, 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 and Jericho has said now that is the stupidest thing you can say. You don't go to a hockey game and say you fucked up when they miss a puck or something. You don't do that. Why is it like that in wrestling? Anyways, I had commented and said they don't call it botches. It's just a mistake. It's live TV,
Yeah,
and that got me
there's a difference.
blocked.
There's a difference between a botch on something, and a mistake. And people
Right.
just are too quick to
A
use
botch
that
is
word,
careless.
and it's like people saying the word buried. They're too quick to use it for everything that happens.
In my opinion, botch. I mean, the literal definition of botch is careless actions. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either of them were careless in that match on Wednesday.
No.
They're very protecting each other, both everywhere. Even when Jericho did his Judas effect, it was well protected.
That or I think of when I think of botches, I think of like the extreme like just mishaps. Like
Right.
the pedigree that was supposed to go through the announcer's table that the table exploded out from underneath them, so it just went completely wrong.
Right.
Yeah. You don't think like I understand. I don't know. People are too jump happy now with words, and I think that's a problem. And that's what gives a lot of shows underwhelming reviews because people shit on certain things because it's a botch or it's not good. It is good. You're just not paying attention enough to the story that they're trying to tell you.
And also, I don't mind. So like, kind of what you're talking about when things aren't super smooth, but you don't want to call it a botch, and you see it a lot of times with the more wrestlers, technical like with the suplexes and stuff. Sometimes when it's not crisp, it looks more realistic, and I buy into it more, and I have a little bit more fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Sometimes their overcorrections look better because it's not perfect.
But that match, like as soon as you saw Ruby sitting ringside before either of the entrances, like she didn't walk down with anyone. As soon as you saw Ruby out there, you knew exactly that she was going to be involved in how it ended, with like Ty coming out and everything else.
Yeah.
You knew there was going to be an involvement there, so you knew like before the match even started, it was going to be booked like a sports entertainment match. And I don't try to mean to say that disrespectfully. It's just obviously
Well,
one's a
that's
little bit more
right.
staged than the other.
Right. That's not how AEW is. They're not that type of show. But when she was sitting there, I said it. I was like, why is she sitting there? Why is she controlling the cage? Like, what is she doing? Like, why is she even out there? Like, she's relegated to this? Like, and then Ty Conti came out, and then you knew something else was going to happen, and just all over the place. Like
Don't worry,
a
it's
botch
from
that
the
happened
same
in that
people
match
that-
was when she couldn't open the cage. That was a botch.
I was laughing so hard at that.
And then they just squeezed through like, oh, I couldn't do this beforehand, but now I'm gonna do it while it's locked. Like,
And then you see Beefy Daddy Magic just look at the cage like, I can't fit through this. But yeah, that was so bad. And but to make it worse, it wasn't even like a big like custodial type key ring, or like what you see when you
right?
watch prison.
It had one
movies or
key.
whatever. Exactly. So it's like one key, one lock. How are you having trouble?
I think commentary joked about that, didn't they? And said she had it upside down or something.
It was worse because they cut over to Anna Jay and it was supposed to be like timed in such a way where she was supposed to do her job, turn over, walk, and just be proud.
Mm-hmm.
And you just hear her kind of awkwardly stand there looking over, like, what the heck is going on? Okay, I guess I'll wander over there now too.
But
As much as I like to say, like AEW, I love it, and that's the side I stick on, and I try not to be hateful and resentful towards WWE, and I think that's what unfortunately gets a lot of people is it's not people trying to hate, it's just people are venting their frustrations with the product all the time.
mm-hmm.
For taking sides, but maybe not as much on Wednesday. But we were very critical of AEW on Friday night. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I heard Friday was absolute snooze.
Title of the video, yeah.
Oh, I didn't check out that video yet.
We fully expected it to be the shortest Rampage video that we had ever done. It ended up going about 20, about the normal length, which is about 20 minutes longer than our longest ever Rampage video.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because we were expecting to go quick, so we started off by respectfully talking briefly about the Vince thing, not going super into detail because, well, I really hadn't had the time to look into anything, gather all the details.
And it's an AEW show.
Right, like everything we did was AEW, but we have to, respect the fact that we grew up wrestling fans. Our age bracket puts us in the Attitude Era, so he was a fixture of it. So we had a little bit of time with that. Then had a little bit more time with talking about how we're going to All Out. And then didn't really even want to talk about Rampage. There was venting about Rampage. That's probably the only reason we got to the point about of almost an hour.
Yeah, I'm getting a little known in the Wrestle Talk community on TikTok. So listening to a bunch of opinions on the product it's refreshing. That's nice to hear, and I'm trying to get them all involved within our server and our community as well to kind of have different takes and different opinions. And I don't know if you guys have heard of them, but they're called Straight Shoot, the Straight Shoot podcast.
No.
They're great guys. They have a lot of opinions, and they do guest the wrestler and stuff like that. It's entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion has changed a lot over the last year and a half or so with AEW.
I wouldn't even say that. I'd say the last 8.5 months is when you started to kind of warm up to AEW.
Yeah, I joined the Discord. It was just straight WWE fandom and AEW hatred. It was terrible.
We've had a lot of people that were AEW, like big on AEW, leave the server because they couldn't take any criticism on it. I felt like they were working for AEW, the way that they were defending it so much, and that's why you see the way that it is now. But I'm more open now. I actually watch the product every week. I've actually I've probably watched the last I missed Blood and Guts, but every show after that I've been watching on Dynamite. I try to order the pay-per-views if I can. I don't watch Rampage; it's just too late for me. I'm not watching wrestling at 10 o'clock.
So, the that came from going to Blood and Guts was when Danhausen revealed his tag team partners for the night, and we were right there off the stage for it. Got that video, and honestly, that was the most I marked out the whole night because that was something you just didn't you had no reason to expect it.
Hmm.
Like I knew Danhausen would be there because coming back home, that kind of thing. But yeah, I did not expect Danhausen to bring out FTR as his tag team partners. You know,
No one would expect that, but
Very good. Very evil.
very nice, very evil.
No, very good as in a shot at FTR because they're. Yeah, forget it.
I know what you're saying.
and that was also the debut of Orange Cassidy's new song.
What is going on with his development as a character? I feel like we've lost a lot of steam with him.
I know he got hurt for a bit, and he's just going to be. He's kind of one of those guys where probably never going to be a world champion. Um, I think he'll eventually cycle into like the TNT title position again, but right now it's being used to help build Wardlow before shoving him to the main event. I think once it's more of a mid card again title, I think it will help. Like he'll be able to slide back in there and like set up some of the next guys after Wardlow. Because
Right.
also keep in mind he's like 37 years old.
Shit, he's that old, eh?
Yeah.
Wow. I thought he was a little bit younger than that.
No, some of these people that are wrestling are actually pretty getting up there in age. Like Finn Balor, he's going to be turning 41. Claudio is up there. Seth Rollins is getting up there. Like you just
Yeah.
people don't realize how old they are and what they do.
Which
Well,
is
then,
funny because you would think Jay Lethal is like 45 at this point, and
Right.
he's not even 40.
Right, because of how long he's been around and everything else.
It's like, yeah, I
then,
remember him in 2008, so he's got to be like 42, 45. No.
Are you
well,
gonna?
what is Brock Lesnar just turned what 45 there the other day?
Yeah, but I mean, he's been wrestling since forever.
Yeah,
But
but he
it's not
came in
like
as
his
like a young
matches
guy.
are very intensive either.
No, but he's got long. You know, that's the reason he has longevity, right? Is he never did anything stupidly other than that shooting star press. He never did anything stupidly out of character.
Uh,
What's your
let's see
thoughts
him
on
crash again.
Ric Flair's last match?
Should have never happened.
Why
Well,
do we have
it
this on
hasn't
our?
it hasn't happened yet, but
Why do we have this on our radar? And just like bringing that up, it's kind of ironic that suddenly Jeff Jarrett is the special guest referee at SummerSlam when the next night he goes with
well,
Flair.
they're both in Nashville, so that was probably the reason why. You figure he's wrestling that
I don't.
night,
I
might
don't
as
think.
well.
I don't think WWE had a plan to use Jeff Jarrett as a special guest. I think that was forced on them when Flair made his announcement.
Yeah, just even the little bit that's gone on so far with them, I'm just like, no, I really don't. He was already on his deathbed multiple times.
I just want Jay Lethal to go back and forth with him again because that promo was the best promo ever.
Apparently, that was completely unscripted.
Yeah, Flair refused to let it have any kind of script. He just said, nope, we're going to go out there and do it.
And we got a 45-minute whoop off.
That's what I would have, up until the stuff that's led up to the match now, I was, I feel like that stuff has ruled out the chance of it being a match. I was like 90% Ric Flair on the ring apron having a woo off. Like, if you're going to have one last match, I was hoping it'd be something like that where he is very well protected.
Well,
No,
Well-
he wants to be Ric Flair.
Andrade is going to carry the match. You'd have to assume that, and Flair might get the pin, but Andrade is carrying it.
Well,
100%.
you figure the match will probably go about 20 or so minutes. Flair will be in the ring for about 6 of it.
And most of it will just be dancing around. Woo!
Right. And
Maybe like chops and woos with Lethal, and that
Yeah.
could be like it.
most of the people that I've heard, like I've read up on this, want no one else besides Ric Flair to be able to use the chop that night. Like out of respect for him. Like that everybody else should just mutually agree not to do it, so this way all the woos are reserved for Flair.
Right, you so do like just single punches, and then Ric Flair.
Right, like he's the only one that can do the chop. Or at least save it to the main event where him and Lethal do it.
Right, like because you know what, taking that back, like you can't have that rule and then have him facing Lethal because the whole thing is that Lethal is Flair.
Mm-hmm.
And
Anyways, I think
just
this
save
was
all the woos for the main event. That's all.
was
Pretty
this
much.
today or last night that Will Ospreay
Oh, the Will
decided
Ospreay
to hit
thing.
Omega?
No. Omega hit Ospreay with the cease and desist on the shirt that Ospreay had put out.
Oh, what I was gonna say was hit him with the straight shoot interview or promo. Excuse me.
Did you
I
see?
think that was.
So, did you see Ospreay hit the one-winged angel on a wrestler earlier this week? And before the 3 count, he pulled the guy's arm up, so this way somebody kicked out of the one-winged angel.
I had known that somebody had did it, but I did not know the result of it like that.
Yeah, it was Will Ospreay did it, and then Kenny Omega commented on it saying it was a great job, like it was a great one-winged angel, but it still wasn't as good enough if the guy kicked out or something along those lines. And then Ospreay put out a shirt that showed him doing it on the shirt, and Omega put out a cease and desist so that he couldn't sell the shirt anymore.
Huh. They
And then,
well, I
and
mean,
then Will cut a.
technically, somebody else has kicked out of the one-winged angel though. Kenny kicked out of it when Hangman did it. So
Well-
really the rule of thumb is nobody's kicked out of the one-winged angel that Kenny's delivered.
Right. That is true.
Is it? I thought
Yeah.
somebody kicked out.
No one's kicked out of it yet. There was
Okada, I think time ran out, so he couldn't get the pin or something like that, or his foot was underneath the rope. So
his foot got underneath the ropes. That was the only one. I think that was one of the only ones that was ever broken. But there was 3 moves that were so super protected. One Winged Angel was one of them. The big rig between FTR was another one. And then Corbin's End of Days was actually very protected up until last year, when Drew McIntyre was the first one to kick out of it.
Up until a couple of years ago, wasn't 3D also protected?
I think
I
people,
feel like it was,
but
I feel like the art of finishers have now
is lost. It's lost. Yes,
diminished.
the Briscoes kicked out of the big rig last night. It was like
was
8.
it first fall, second fall, or third fall?
It was in the
Second.
third. It was in the third fall. It was after the ref got knocked out. They did the big rig, had to get the ref back up, threw him back in the ring, and then they kicked out. So it was like 7 seconds. But the announcers made it seem like it was a regular 3 count that they kicked out of, and made such a big deal out of it that they're the first people to ever kick out of the big rig. I don't think that was needed in that match. That's the one was the one downfall that I didn't like about that match.
So, when I think of the overall picture of the setup to this match, I think it makes a little bit more sense. Because the fact that they skipped right to a 2 out of 3 falls match, which is usually reserved for after wins are traded.
Mm-hmm.
I think because they skipped right the 2 out of 3 falls match, they had to do whatever they could to. This would allow, one, the Briscoes to get a fall on FTR without actually beating FTR.
Which they did.
Right, so you're able to do a lot to build them up while also knowing it was the 2 out 3 fall, so FTR could still
Right.
win because they were just skipping the whole Briscoes actually pinning them part.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I'm the person that likes those protective finishes though, so I kind of get offended when that happens because you don't see that as much. Like Undertaker lost it too. You started seeing people kick out of his tombstone. Like it just like there was certain moves that were once that was hit, that was it, and now you don't see that anymore.
I think in general, yes, in certain moments, I'm okay with it because that's always been a thing. Like, even if you go back 20 years, it got that way with The Rock and Triple H and Austin and The Rock and Kane versus Undertaker. So, like, in certain moments, in certain big moments, it makes more sense.
For the fall finish, then yeah.
But if you're talking, it's okay. If it happened in a big way, like randomly on this past episode of Rampage, I probably would agree with you. It's just also hard to say it for Dynamite because sometimes Dynamites are treated like they do a better job at making sure your week to week television feels more can't miss.
Mm-hmm.
Like actually hyping up their title matches and stuff, so it's kind of hard to even lump that in there with it. But if it's just a run of the mill type of episode, yeah, it's a different story than if it's a big moment kind of thing.
I think that's what WWE lacks, in at least recent memory, is back when we were growing up watching Monday night and hell SmackDown as well, whatever day it was on then. It was Thursday.
It's
So
been
it'd be
on
title match.
Tuesday,
Tuesday night besides Monday and Wednesday, so
Tuesday used to be Monday and Tuesday.
Right, but I didn't think it aired till Thursday, right?
Right,
It's Thursday night SmackDown.
and it was
But
Thursday Night
it
Thunder.
aired on Tuesdays at one point.
No,
Though, didn't
when
it?
it first went live, it was on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
right.
So it's been on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Friday
Yeah,
as a regular thing.
But what I'm saying is I think that's what WWE's lacked, at least in the recent memory. We don't get main title matches anymore on regular TV. And when we do, we already know the finish.
I
But
don't
like
know.
it'd be nice to have like a champion that actually wants to fight on the weekly show.
I don't know. Riddle
You-
versus Roman was a pretty damn good match, and almost
That
a
was the
big
first
loser.
one in like 6 years on SmackDown.
Right, you either have to get like champions that are regularly on the show, or you have to get back to where you allow somebody to make your mid card title feel meaningful again, which it's been a while. Like,
Like who is the Intercontinental Champion right now?
Gunther,
Okay. Who is the US champion?
Lashley,
Okay. Lashley can make the US title,
and Gunther can make the IC title.
but they need to give them the proper opponents and time. And if
Which-
you're not going to have Reigns on weekly, those two titles need to be back to being big.
Which y'all who watch it on a weekly basis can have some hope again because North American title in NXT was treated with respect.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have somebody kind of in a position of power who has experience making that middle of the road title more meaningful.
I said this before you joined. With Triple H back in a power position, we could see the main rosters starting to look a little bit and feel a little bit like the black and gold era of NXT, where we actually want to watch and tune in and what's going to happen.
I don't know if I
So-
really want to see like the NXT type thing. I want to be able to have a combination of the two.
I think Raw might be more NXT like than SmackDown. I think SmackDown would probably, because it's positioned on Fox, stay more like what you've known it to be for a while, versus Raw might get the more gritty feel to it again.
I need a main event. I need a main roster War Games. I just need it. Put the Usos or the Bloodline and whoever the other three are, and just let them go. Put
Well-
Brock in fucking Street Profits. I don't care.
War Games has how many people? 4 or 5?
Typically, it's 4 on each side.
It's been a mixture because like there was the one in NXT that was actually wasn't one a triple threat.
It was triple threat. It was like there was 3 teams of 5.
3-3. No, the triple threat I think was like 3-3-3. You've had teams
No,
of
it was-
5 McAfee's.
It was Undisputed Era. Was that the 3 or 4 though?
That's
Nope.
4, always 4.
So it was 4.
Undisputed was always
No,
4.
because Roddy did a War Games with Author of Pain. Authors of Pain.
Then that was 3v3.
Oh, isn't that when he turned? Was that when he turned
Yeah,
and joined
no,
them?
no. I think that's before he joined them.
That was
Just before. That was a 3v3. And then after that, once Roderick joined, it was 4v4 for the next few years. And then when the women's, I think, had it, it was 5-5-5.
Because didn't Roddy turn in a triple threat tag team title match where Adam Cole was pulling double duty?
I believe so. Sounds about right.
So
But
War
while
Games was
Scalise is looking this up,
that first War Games was Undisputed Era. So Cole, Riley, Fish. They were defeated by Akam, Razor, and Strong, and then they defeated them, and then Sanity. So it was nine people in there. So 3-3-3.
Right. So, yep. That's why I thought. I was like, I couldn't remember that third one though. Because, damn, there's a missed opportunity. Eric Young Insanity.
he is a great
a great crazy person.
No, I've had conversations with this man. He is brilliant, and I love talking to him.
Not only that, but one that never gets brought up with some of the best women's matches that should get brought up more. Going back to Sanity, Nikki Cross last women's standings match with Asuka.
Yeah, made you believe that Asuka could lose to just anybody, and then, well, Asuka got the win. But
yeah, that's when Asuka was undefeatable.
Undefeated for 500 some days. So I have a question for you, because especially with saying in here, what is, and this might be a little biased because I love Pat, but what is your thoughts on Excalibur getting commentated over the year over Pat McAfee? And not even just over Pat McAfee not even being nominated.
So I would do a hard disagree with Pat McAfee not even being nominated because he's the best
color guy
voice that WWE has.
So there's different types of announcers though.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. They clump them all together.
That's where I think Excalibur makes sense as the winner is because one, he's the overall voice for like.
Oh, he's the overall. Okay, I thought he was just a color guy. So my apologies.
No, he's
I don't mean that. I just mean.
Like he's the head guy.
Rampage, yeah, like he's the consistent guy. He's the one that. He's basically the Michael Cole in terms of he's the one who gets everything.
I was just about to say that he's Michael Cole of AEW.
And just, I don't want to be disrespectful by saying this. JR probably isn't, like, he's at the point where he's got to kind of be carried.
Where he doesn't need to come out anymore?
Yeah, I think it's time. Like, I see where you're going with this saying, and I just think it's time for JR to pull Jerry Lawler and just come back maybe once every so often just to show you're alive, and then just kind of go quietly back out of the scene for a while.
He does for the second half of Rampage every single week.
But my point is, and I think that's what Stan was alluding to.
He needs to come back. He needs to come back for the 4 pay-per-views. That's when he needs to come back. That's my opinion.
So that's more of a credit to like Excalibur with all the shuffling pieces that he's working with and everything, and being so I think Excalibur winning in that regard makes sense, but I do hard disagree with McAfee not even being nominated.
Okay, well that's why I wanted your opinion on it, right? And I respect that, but I also didn't know that I didn't factor in all those factors, right? So
yeah, Excalibur is like the main person for them. He deserves everything he gets.
I mean, I'll agree that he didn't get nominated now because he called Michael Cole the GOAT. So, just kidding. But I got to give credit where credit is due to Cole. He started off as a backstage interviewer 20-some years ago, and he's still there, and he's keeping himself fresh, relevant. So, good on him.
If it wasn't for him having chemistry with McAfee, I'd probably think that he would go to a backstage role, kind of like get some new blood in there, and he takes more of a backstage lead role, like managing them. Because just like anything else with wrestling, if you're around consistently for an extended period of time, at some point,
You lose sight.
shut it up.
You lose sight of things. Like
Well, I
things
mean, just you get boring.
and things will
Like,
pass. Yeah, things will pass you by.
so even just like that's why people used to be weird. I know some people didn't care for it, some people did. Like, remember in the old drafts, like your commentary team could change.
Yeah, that was pretty cool when they did that.
So like and especially now when they're on different networks altogether, I don't know if that'd be a good thing or a bad thing, because you're like we're so used to with other sports. You know that when you turn on this channel and watch this game, these are the
Mm-hmm.
voices that you're gonna hear. But I don't know.
Cole and McAfee together, though, just they're
But now that they're together, yeah, it's fine. It's just before that, I was like, Michael Cole's still there, go away. But
but
now it
with
works.
with McAfee, it just revitalized like his whole career. It just made such
Yeah, I
a
was just about
difference.
to say that.
And I think a lot of it's the fact that McAfee doesn't have any kind of spoilers.
No, he won't. He won't go to the meetings. Like he doesn't want to know anything that's happened. He wants all his reactions to be genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And I love
And
that
then,
about him because you could see that they are genuine when he goes crazy.
and he just knows his cues between being in his ears and his cues from Cole. Just like, okay, there's certain things he has to do because Cole's gonna obviously know how the show is supposed to go in terms of pacing and things that they want. But so he can steer the ship with McAfee. It's just McAfee with the energy and honestly, top 5 talker in the business over the last 5 years.
I don't know who can cut a better promo right now than McAfee either.
Yeah.
I think the only man I could compare McAfee's mic skills to, and it might be a little off-putting to some, but The Rock.
So I mean, it depends on if we want to talk all the companies because, like, if we talk all the companies, it's probably going you'll have him in the top 5, but you could probably come up with 4 other names in total that have been around. Like, you could talk about MJF's promos, some of the ones that he's had. You could talk Cody, for better or for worse. He's had some really good ones. He's had some really bad ones.
Yeah.
Heyman, when he has a reason to switch it up a little bit, it's still always gold. So, but I mean, those are
McAfee
the names
just
that you have to put out with McAfee. That puts him in really fucking good company. It doesn't matter.
he gets the business. Like he just gets it.
My 1-2 on the mic is MJF and Wyndham Rotunda. Easily. They can both cut promos that make you so invested that you don't know which way you're going. And they can be flip-flopped 1 or 2.
And you want to know something funny about Wyndham? If and when he comes back, I feel like it's just going to shine a giant spotlight over in AEW on Malachi Black and how much I hate his vignettes over there. Because when Bray/Wyndham comes back and returns and does whatever he does in a similar style, but like 10 times better, maybe he'll get the point to change the gimmick. I don't know.
Do you think Bray's coming back next weekend?
I mean, outside of what I saw y'all talk about in your one video, I haven't looked for anything else, but I have seen 1 or 2 things pop up in that same vein. So I don't think you can be that consistently subtle and deliberate without there being a payoff. And I don't think they would, because Vince always had a rule: don't promise people things that you don't plan to deliver. I mean, granted, he's broken that rule a million fucking times with his week-to-week booking. Card subject to change.
But when it comes to Wyndham, though, he's keeping himself relevant whether he's coming back or not.
It feels like it should happen.
Hey, you're talking to one of the biggest Wyndham marks, and I'm waiting.
So, in your mind, with you being that way and possibly that excited for it, how do you view this in terms like compared to CM Punk's return, like how that was called the worst kept secret on purpose in professional wrestling? How confident do you
You
feel
mean Cody?
is
No.
Cody's was worst kept secret too. So that could be it. But continue. Excuse me.
how would you compare your confidence to like the CM Punk return? Because that one was like 100%. Like some people were still trying to sow seeds of doubt with Cody, but like nobody was trying to sow seeds of doubt with CM Punk.
Yeah, there was
See
there's
that?
lots of seeds of doubt with Cody saying, "Oh, there was talk that the deal's not going to go through now, everything else." And then they stopped with the hints for like the last 2 weeks up to the show. They were doing it and then they stopped. So it made you think, "Oh, maybe something's not going to happen." But CM Punk you knew. And you were going to say Shadow? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But with CM Punk and Cody respectively joining AEW and WWE, there was hints throughout both shows that people were coming. Like the first dance hint, stupid little catchphrases on Raw. With Wyndham, there's nothing. Nothing. Other than this vignette that started appearing, 4 weeks ago now? 3 weeks ago?
Money in the Bank was the first one.
So if CM Punk was 100 and Cody was like a 95, what are you in terms of confidence that it's going to be Wyndham?
I'm going to be 50-50.
Well, I know for sure it's Edge.
But we know he
But
has someone with him. That's the
in
thing.
order to take on Judgment Day, he has to have somebody with him.
Who's the third man, brother?
Well, not even third. It could just be two. Could be Edge
No,
and somebody versus.
That's a reference. But that's a reference going back to the 90s there, Scals. Come on.
I understand that, and it happened.
Listen, you were 40 back then. You should remember this.
Yeah, I saw that shit. I watched it. It was this month.
Like I said, you were 40. You remember this.
It happened in June. It happened at Bash at the Beach.
I love how he just said this month and then said June.
Sorry, July. But it happened at Bash at the Beach. We talked about this the other night. I was talking with somebody about this. Edge is definitely one of the people coming back because you can see him in the vignettes. But is someone coming with him? And I'm 50-50 on it being Bray.
Yeah, I'm 50-50. It's either going to or it's not.
I also feel it could be Cross. Because there was the hourglasses. There was the gears. Like there's a whole bunch of different things that can go either way.
Was
it could be both.
Actual hourglass? Like, did you see sand?
Yes, they showed sand in one of them.
The only reason I asked is that is because his old lantern, the glass itself was shaped like an hourglass, but
right. Did you see Wyndham's most recent Twitter post where he showed somebody standing on top with a headless guy holding a head in his hand like it's a lantern?
No.
It could be Cross and Wyndham.
It could be. They could be all three.
I hope, for your sake,
that it's Wyndham.
Not Cross.
Listen, I've had my hopes up for over a year at this point. All right.
Well, it'll be a year on the 31st.
So I just brace myself for disappointment like I do in the leaf season.
Well, yeah, you're used to it.
I just do the same thing. It's gonna be great, and then it's not gonna happen. All right, next year.
I would love to see him back. Like I mentioned on the pod the other night, maybe he never was released. And they just did this. They said he was released to give him time off to go film the movie that he was in.
And his mental health. So.
And now the filming is done. He can come back.
And another thing, if people are going to expect Wyndham to come back, they need to understand it's not going to be The Fiend. It's not. It just can't be. It just can't be.
It could be. It'll be
depending on how you want to view some of the things that you said in your show about it. It could be his original intentions of The Fiend that got scrapped.
Correct. It could
now it's moving to TV14, right?
It could be the 6th iteration of Wyndham. That's why he's calling himself Wyatt 6. And if he's gonna hold the lantern, maybe the lantern is the Fiend, like the Fiend's head, like how he held
I-
Bray's head as.
I would
the
immediately
Fiend.
buy that lantern. Just don't even care.
I'm just saying, like that would be like if he's evolving, he went from a regular lantern to holding Bray's head. Now the next one would hold the Fiend's head.
Like
Well, his whole
previous
thing is
personality is always a trophy once he evolves.
Right.
Like the head.
it goes back to like his full circle mentality and his the moth, I think it is, or butterfly, however you want to perceive it, but it's always evolving,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he started off as a baby as Husky Harris, and he's just kind of evolved cult leader. Then he was this psychotic break, two personalities. So now, what do we get now? When and if he comes back?
I think it's more about if. I mean, more about when, not if. Especially now with Vince gone.
You know who we do know is back from after a little bit of time off?
Who's that?
Danielson.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? Because TK has even got on the record saying he's not comfortable with Danielson wrestling.
It's well, the thing is if he had any kind of lingering concerns, he wasn't gonna allow it to happen. Like Danielson, he passed all his tests and everything. There was just a day that he could have felt a little bit under the weather, and TK noticed it. It was like, nope, sorry, still not happening. Which I appreciate. So he is going to be super cautious about anything that happens with him. So I feel like if he is wrestling, that means he should be good. The only thing. Go ahead.
I do have one more question while you're touching on this. Does respectfully, of course, does this make you appreciate what WWE doctors were telling Danielson about his injuries?
No, it doesn't really change anything on that side. And the only reason I say that is because he did still come back.
Right.
And he still did wrestle there. So I appreciate that they took for anyone's health and anyone's sake. Like same thing with Edge, you got to come back all these years later. Like the fact that at that time they were like, no, we're looking out for your health. I appreciate that for any of them. But I do also understand that.
Hold on. What is that, Scales?
What is what?
I don't know. You're moving something. It sounds like a cup.
I wasn't doing anything.
No, it's coming from your mic. That's why I'm asking.
I heard it too. I just have no idea what it would have been.
I wasn't doing anything, so I don't even know.
All right, continue. Sorry about that.
I mean, just as long as they're always, it's the same thing with Paige. Soraya, I don't, whatever
Soraya.
future holds, as long as it's, if they know the
Healthy.
risk and it isn't super terrible, but because with any physical activity, there's the risk.
Right.
As long as the risk is still relatively minimal, and they're feeling healthy, let them do what they want to do. Maybe you pay more attention to how they structure their matches, make sure that certain people don't take stupid risks. Or like Danielson maybe should not do headbutts. Things like that. But no, just just nothing negative about what the WWE doctor said ever, really.
I feel like WWE's doctors came under scrutiny after that whole CM Punk lawsuit thing.
Now, if you want to talk about the scrutiny for that kind of stuff, that's a whole different story. Like, because his story was the fact that he should have been given time off for treatment, and they just did the bare minimum of saying, hey, here's some antibiotics. Or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they said those antibiotics made him even, like, more sick, where he cracked himself when wrestling. So, that's a different story. That's not getting time off and being pulled away. Like, if they're telling you not to wrestle, yeah, there's a reason, and I'm okay with that. But there's probably some people, not so much now, but in the past, that they should have told people, like, take time off.
But I mean, that could go for any sport, like hockey, for example. Like
Right.
when I played hockey, I never told my coach, "Oh, my head hurts." I just went out there and kept hitting people and getting hit. I suffer with the consequences now, but that wasn't something you said. The sports technology wasn't there either. So
Right, but now, like with football, for instance, if there's any sign that you took a hit to the head, if you are like a little bit wobbly or a little bit woozy, like they have people that specifically are watching the cameras and like from above to be like, nope, that player has to come out right now.
yeah,
So, like, yeah, if you see something like that, you have to step in. But if the risks are minimal and they clear all the tests and everything, you're gonna let them do what they do. You're just gonna, unfortunately, like when he first came back, every single German suplex he took, it was a scary sight to see because you want to see him move his arms after and stuff. You're just like, please move.
yeah. Please don't die.
And that's why I don't want the Ric Flair to happen.
I mean, that man's gonna die in the ring one way or another. I feel.
He's just gonna go even more batshit crazy in the next few years and just turn his whole like bedroom into a wrestling ring. So that way, when he does go, he'll be like, "Nope, it's in the ring."
Yeah. Some guys just unfortunately don't know when to hang it up. Ric Flair is one of them. Another one is Jeff Hardy. It's time for him to hang it up.
Yeah, I said that a while ago too.
My only concern with Hardy would be if he's not doing that, would he indulge himself more?
I think that's why he's indulging himself more, is because he's trying to entertain us, and that's.
And that's a
I,
general like
I,
I understand that like that's the main line of thinking
I,
that you're gonna take because
I truly believe I truly believe he wants to be well and he wants to get the help. I truly do believe that Jeffrey Hardy wants to be healthy again.
my thing just with him, and the only reason I say that is just because his general personality type with like his art, his music, his dirt bikes, and like the giant ramps and everything like that. With his creative stuff, I just wonder if him wrestling is more of a focus where maybe it can help keep him away from it, or is he that kind of person where it just gives him something to go away from those kind of activities, and where you take that focus out of his life, would he just indulge himself more? That's I could see him just being that creative, the charismatic enigma kind of deal, where maybe having a focus in his life helps him, just hasn't helped him enough.
I get it. I get your standpoint there.
Just because his personality just makes me kind of wonder.
He has a thrill addiction.
And a lot of times when you have the arts and the music and that kind of stuff, it comes with things like
Drugs, alcohol.
alcohol.
It's the rock and roll lifestyle, if you will.
That's why I was
100%.
being with Matt would be helpful, but I think Matt kind of Christian hit it on the head. Like Matt kind of enables it. Like, all right, Matt, quit trying to be like holding his hand, and it's time for tough love.
Well, that's it too. I follow Matt's wife on TikTok, and you have people absolutely shitting on her because Jeff got quote unquote intoxicated, drunk driving again, and she come out and said, "I can't hold his hand everywhere. He's a grown ass man. We're trying to help him. He doesn't want the help, etc., etc."
And that's how I think it's been with him. Is I think it's been mostly Matt trying to be just by his side and super supportive when, yeah, that's clearly not working. It's time to be a little bit more tough. So hopefully, whatever's going on and the fact that he is taking AEW up on the offer now, it seems.
Yeah, he's did that for WWE too.
But hopefully, I just mean with like Matt, with them realizing maybe tough love and that happening, like. But it doesn't really matter. He's had his stretches of being good, and then it still happens. So we won't really know until 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Mhm.
Because everyone's going to have their hiccups.
But that's another thing too that just makes everything that happened with him leaving WWE look really bad now. Oh, I was sober. I was this. I was that. I just wanted to get out. But now he turns around and does this shit over in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's done it every company he's went.
So my only gripe that I had with people that talked about the WWE side after is because they would make it seem like AEW fans came after them for saying that WWE was bad for even offering the help. Like, no, the only thing that really anyone ever attacked WWE over was the fact that Jeff Hardy insists that that test that he took would have been clean. It's the fact that they assumed that he wasn't going to be clean.
Right. They approached it the wrong way.
Yeah. So that was usually the big criticism I ever heard, not the fact that they offered him help and everything else.
No, I get that. I'm completely agreeing with your side. Like, AEW fans or just wrestling fans in general, you know, oh, they're going at. No, that's not what they were doing. It was WWE's stupidity for attacking him the way they did. There was other ways to approach that situation, and they chose the way they did.
They chose to assume the worst, and
True or not, it doesn't matter. You don't assume.
Right. And if Jeff is to be believed, they were completely wrong. It's just now, in hindsight, some months later, it doesn't matter because
It looks like a bad take, right? That's all it is.
yeah, he's still fucked up.
Yeah, whether it was then or now, it still happened.
Then, now, forever.
And so you can't. So basically, the biggest thing out of it is you can't blame the WWE lifestyle.
No, yeah, I think it's wrestling lifestyle in general because we've seen others go down the similar road.
And just unfortunately with Jeff, it just feels like
It's too
well, a big prime example of wrestlers that have gone down that way, Eddie Guerrero.
Mm-hmm.
That is the biggest one you can give nowadays.
Everyone,
You know,
all the well.
It was definitely a leading cause.
Yeah. But that dude also did not necessarily grow all his muscle mass in a natural way.
A lot of wrestlers didn't back then.
Yeah.
Yokozuna. It just goes.
Hold on, because you just mentioned Yokozuna. One of the funniest things that I've come to realize, some of our favorites that we probably had from when we were young, cancel culture would have ruined them so fast today.
Oh, 100%.
Yokozuna.
Godfather.
Even Scott Hall. He played like some kind of Latino type male, and he wasn't Latino at all. He's like German and Italian or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then the NWO was basically gang warfare.
Yeah. Pack gang mentality.
Yup. And so it's just like looking back, all the people that misrepresent stuff, it's like, oh dang, like thankfully we have the memories and nobody shits on them.
Who is that guy that Iron Sheik would be another one. But there was Hassan in the last 20 years. He'd be so far out that door now, he even tried that. He was Italian and portraying an East Indian man.
Just Yokozuna, when I found out about Yokozuna, it just really, really surprised me. The fact that he is part of the Samoan family. Not Japanese sumo wrestler at all.
Yeah, it's trippy when you learn about Yoko and how strict his upbringing was. Like,
do you watch anything besides AEW? Saying.
I used to watch TNA back in the day. Now it's almost impossible to watch on TV. So
I know I hate the fact that it's on the stupid ass channel Axis.
When the Forbidden Doors really started to open, and we had like, I stayed up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning when Jericho first went to New Japan. So I pay attention to know the names that are hot around certain levels, but not enough to actually watch it. Did you have one in mind?
Well, I wasn't sure if you watched NXT at all.
I used to before 2.0.
What made you stop watching 2.0?
2.0.
Was it because of the colors? Like the color scheme?
It was.
Shadow.
They didn't hide
What?
the blatant shift in anything that they were doing. So it was just such a massive overhaul in total that I was like, nope, I am not going to be into where this is going. Between all the people that were randomly gone and everything else that had been going on, I'm like, I nope, where it's going is not what what I like. But a lot of what I like is going right on over to that black and gold brand, a different black and gold brand, white, gold, however you want to color it. You know. Similar aesthetics, not the same, but similar.
I was just curious. Because I feel that we can see a few people coming up from NXT in the upcoming months coming up to the main rosters.
Like, for example, a lot of the women that were left behind at that point, it feels like a lot of the women that are left behind fit the old like diva mentality in a way. Less per, and I think that's part of the whole not taking people from the indies and trying to build them up from scratch. So it's more about like the personality and the ring work is going down with the women. So it kind of felt like women's wrestling was regressing. You were seeing. I don't hate Braun Breaker himself, but like if that's the future of going back to like the meathead stuff, I'm good.
All right, I was just curious because they have another there's another Oos down there
Yep.
that I've been hearing rumblings that he might show up at SummerSlam.
Like I know a decent amount. Like I know right now, big things just happen for Cora Jade, but Cora Jade also is kind of like the epitome of what I was just talking about. It feels like she was better suited for like 10 years ago women's division, where it's like you can kind of wrestle. We just need you to have personality.
Since we're talking about the women, what's your take on the women's division in AEW?
Serena Deeb should have took the title from Thunder Rosa, and then you would have actually possibly had built 3 stars as opposed to 2. And I'm not counting Rosa as one of those stars, even though Jade isn't the best wrestler. She is clearly a head and shoulders above most of the people there in terms of personality and charisma.
Rosa was a star before she got there. She was
She's
well.
not
She was
star
well.
in
She was
women
well
one.
known, I should say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, well known. It's just I feel like Deeb with that promo, you could have actually had a quality run with her versus more months of Thunder Rosa floundering as a champion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Toni Storm. I didn't really even like Toni Storm in WWE. I thought her best things I ever watched her do were going all the way back to the Mae Young Classic. After that, but like in AEW, it didn't feel like she got the pop for getting there and people liking her aesthetically and I guess her style, but she didn't show squat for personality, so I'm annoyed. Ruby kinda got screwed because she knew she wasn't gonna beat Britt when she got there, and after that, just kind of got buried. They had a chance to build more stars, and they honestly probably could have took it. I do feel like people were too harsh on it originally, because it didn't develop quickly, but people, there was a lot of pandemic stuff because remember how heavy AEW was on Japanese, the Joshi wrestlers early
Right.
on, and ones from like the UK and stuff like that. So there were so many people that they didn't have that they were planning on having. So when you have to shuffle all those plans over again, of course you're gonna struggle.
Yeah, and they didn't go back to them at all since then either. They like kind of went away from them.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's a tried and true thing with over here, just looking with WWE and everything. If you're trying to sell TV, get people to watch TV in the United States and Canada, where the language is primarily English, people that can speak English well is going to be a nice thing. So you limit the amount of people that can kind of, I don't want to say you limit because that sounds terrible, but if you don't have someone to talk for you and you can't talk in English, it's going to be hard to get yourself over, which means it's hard to get yourself a spot. Konosuke Takeshita somehow just hasn't really done a promo. Somehow just has natural charisma is getting over. So it's working for him. I think he's going to end up in the BCC in Japan.
You think the BCC is gonna be multi promotion?
I think it's bound to happen just because think about how Bullet Club went back and forth between Ring of Honor and New Japan. If you're really going to have that open door kind of policy, things are going to kind of have that fluidity. And I think with his last month or so, it would make sense for him to end up leaving his excursion and going back and carrying like the flag for like BCC over in Japan. Maybe he takes Wheeler Yuta with him, and that's like the starting point. Or maybe that's when Danielson gets to finally go there for a tournament situation, you know?
Right. That makes sense.
Because we know he wants to go over there.
But
It's hard with the Joshi. Now, we went a long ass time between Jamie Hayter being on AEW TV, and I was excited to have her back. I'm waiting for that turn to happen. But yeah, they have to kind of, when you have a chance to make a star, you need to do it right now with that women's division. You cannot slow play it.
well, I think we've done this long enough for tonight. We're going on an hour and 40 minutes now.
Just Trina Deep.
That is a long shoot interview. Yeah, that,
I appreciate you coming on tonight, Zane. It was good to have you on ours. Again, I want to promote his podcast. He does them on Wednesday nights and Friday nights after Dynamite and Rampage, unless he's actually at the show,
Well,
which makes sense. Me and Shadow, we are still looking for somebody else to join our podcast as well. So we can start doing them on Monday nights and Friday nights after SmackDown and after Raw. But I will be at Raw tomorrow night, so be sure to check out the YouTube channel because I will be dropping some shorts from the show, hopefully with stuff that you guys don't see on TV, making people want to tune in.
so you go to Raw tomorrow night, and then 3 weeks later I go, or I guess a month from now, 22nd I go to Raw.
Oh, that's right. You're going when I come up there. That's
I'm going
the
on the
22nd.
22nd. And I'm telling you this now, as soon as tickets go on sale for AEW, your boy's going to be there because it's Canada and we need it.
They have to get a place there first, and that seems to be the trouble right now.
Well, you know what? I know when they come, they're going to do their whole, meet and greet sessions because it's going to be the first time coming to Canada, and I have like a plethora of figures to be signed. So
I'm hoping that my schedule works out in a way where I'm gonna ask, beg, and plead. I don't know what the deal is for that holiday weekend. I asked if Saturdays, if we're even open. I would like to, as much as possible, try to leave Friday night, get into Chicago probably around like 1 o'clock in the morning on a Friday night / Saturday morning, so that way whatever events that they put around All Out, Like, let me go to those things on Saturday. Let me go to the brunch show on Sunday. I want to get a lot.
Take in as much as you can, kind of deal. Yeah.
Plus, I've never been to Chicago, even though it's kind of like a normal spot that people here drive to.
I've never been there either, but I'll tell you this: wear a vest, a bulletproof vest.
It's only certain areas of Chicago.
They don't call it shot for no reason.
To be fair, though, Scouts, the area that recently had an incident in Chicago wasn't like
I know.
lower. It was in a nicer area,
I
and I
know.
think that's actually where the show is. I think. I mean, I don't know Chicago's for sure, but yeah, I'll be fine. I look like
But-
a leprechaun and just kind of disappear like magic. You want to see proof of this? You want to see proof of this?
There he goes. All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming out tonight. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. If you enjoyed us, make sure to follow us on Twitch so you get the live notifications of when we do go live again. And we hope to see you guys again soon. Shadow, anything else before we go?
Yeah, and if you guys, I'm going to be starting to promote some more wrestling stuff on my personal TikTok now. I'm moving away from my current content. Follow me over there. I'm Canadian Jesus 91.
All right, guys. Hope you have a great evening, and we hope to see you again soon. Peace.